Clark pulls up from deep. Unbelievable range from way downtown. Then, she punctuates it with the gesture. Freeze your feed right now. We are not talking about standard clickbait here. This is a tactical evolution. The Peacock Network is reviving their Sunday evening hardwood showcase. They refuse to take the easy route, instead planting Caitlin Clark directly at the anchor desk inside the Garden, while Los Angeles battles New York on the grandest stage imaginable. Purple and gold against the Knickerbockers, with the king himself, LeBron, sidelined for one more evening. Yet the energy remained electric. She did not show up for a quick wave or a brief chat during the break. She is positioned right next to the immortals of the sport, occupying a spot that represents a seismic shift rather than simple analysis. This is cold, hard tactics, not a trip down memory lane. They are not merely resurrecting a TV program. They are rewriting the rules on who gets to drive the cultural dialogue. With a single bold stroke, the message was sent. The next era of sports coverage is not on the horizon. It has landed. Analyze this executive maneuver. Allow me to break down the corporate rationale, because frankly, it is pure genius. I do not say that lightly. The network faces a dilemma that plagues every traditional outlet in the industry today. Their viewership is getting gray. The loyalists who tuned in faithfully during the 90s and 2000s remain, but their numbers have plateaued. Conversely, a colossal wave of youth exists, a generation born into the digital realm. They devour clips on mobile screens, stalk players on social platforms, and digest the game via 30-second videos and viral threads. That demographic possesses zero allegiance to the old-school cable model. Flashy visuals and retro anthems will not grab them. They demand a catalyst. They demand a personality. Caitlin Clark stands as the single most magnetic force in athletics today. Consider her impact over just the past 24 months. She transformed mundane collegiate matchups into nationwide spectacles. She shattered milestones that had collected dust for generations. Benchmarks the world believed were untouchable. The Iowa sharpshooter obliterating the history books and holding the country spellbound. During her farewell tour, she turned the women's bracket into the highest-rated hoops broadcast in the States, eclipsing even the men's side. Her draft night evolved into a primetime blockbuster. Her debut year in Indiana was less a season and more a cultural tidal wave. Stadiums were packed to the rafters. Viewership for her matches skyrocketed by triple digits. Jersey sales defied gravity. She did not merely influence the metrics, she destroyed the scale, constructed a superior one, and maxed that out as well. Here is the crucial detail many overlook. Her gravity pulls in far more than just the traditional women's hoops crowd. That is an antiquated perspective. Clark commands a legion that is vast and varied. Hardcore NBA enthusiasts tune in. Gridiron diehards watch her. Individuals who could not care less about athletics recognize her moniker. She goes beyond the boundaries of the court in a way few icons ever have. The executives grasped this fundamental truth. They witnessed it personally during her university days. Recall the moment they locked her history-making performance behind a subscription barrier? She launches, and it finds the bottom of the net. Folks who had never paid for a stream in their existence whipped out credit cards solely to witness her magic. That is beyond abnormal. It is not merely scarce. For a collegiate player, it is virtually unheard of. Therefore, when selecting the figurehead for their multi-billion-dollar basketball revival, there was no debate. It was inevitable. Now, examine the execution. The network did not simply schedule her for a haphazard guest spot. Each element of this introduction was engineered with absolute exactitude. When the evening finally came, it exceeded all expectations. She premiered on February 1st at 6 o'clock in the evening, Eastern Standard Time, direct from the Garden, 1 hour prior to the 7 o'clock tip-off. They did not gently introduce her. They refused to debut her during a meaningless matchup between tanking franchises where a mistake would go unseen. Instead, they tossed her directly into the inferno. The absolute mecca of hoops. King James, possibly taking his final bow at the arena wearing gold, an emotional pilgrimage for the living legend. The superstar famously getting misty-eyed while battling his former Cleveland squad. Jalen Brunson leading a squad clawing for playoff positioning. Front row tickets commanding over $1,000. This was no quiet arrival. It was a declaration of war. The executives calculated every move, and they kept pushing. They deployed every heavy hitter available for the premiere. Bob Costas was on the mic. His airness, Michael Jordan, showed up as a featured guest. Let that sink in. They paired Caitlin Clark with the Ghost of Chicago on the very same evening. That is the stratosphere she occupies now, spearheading the network's most critical asset since reclaiming the rights in that massive 11-year, $76 billion agreement. The last time the Peacock Network hosted professional basketball was way back during the Nets-Lakers championship series in 2002. After that finals matchup, the airwaves went quiet for a generation. After more than 20 years of radio silence, they didn't just knock. They kicked the door down by bringing in Caitlin Clark to anchor the Basketball Night in America panel with Maria Taylor. The calendar had flipped all the way to December of 2026. You could hear the gravity in the conversation as she discussed the monumental shift in the WNBA, flanked by legends like Carmelo Anthony and Reggie Miller. As soon as the cameras went live, any doubt vanished. She looked like she had been sitting in that chair for years. She waxed poetic about the magic of the Garden, confessing it was her rookie visit for a Knicks showdown, noting that the energy in the arena hit different. Her commentary zeroed in on how true icons elevate their game when the pressure is at its peak. She dissected the mechanics of a player she studies with such surgical precision that the Hall of Famers beside her could only nod in agreement. Back home, her Fever running mate Sophie Cunningham tuned in, later taking to the airwaves to proclaim that Clark looked completely in her element. Even Aaliyah Boston, her teammate and a college hoops analyst for the network, hopped on Instagram to ask the question on everyone's mind. Is there anything this girl cannot do? But the real entertainment kicked off before the mics were hot, when the network pit Clark against 20-year league veteran Jamal Crawford in a twist on the classic game of HORSE. Whether you grew up calling it PIG or HORSE, it is supposed to be simple child's play. For this segment, they branded it NBC, but anyone familiar with Caitlin knows she does not take losing lightly. The real scoop on what went down didn't surface until days later on the Let It Shoot podcast. Segment director Sarah Chabanian spilled the beans, revealing that after Clark dropped the first round, she immediately barked at producers to make it a best-of-3 series, something definitely not in the script. There was no way she was leaving that set with an L recorded for posterity. That split-second decision revealed her character better than any expert commentary could. This isn't a performance for her, it is simply her DNA. Chobanian shared another detail that really resonated with the audience. She noted that the true measure of a star is how they treat the crew, confirming that Clark is that rare icon you can meet without fear of being let down. The viewership data validated the network's gamble, with the Lakers-Knicks showdown raking in 4.5 million eyes across the network and Telemundo, marking the highest-rated Sunday regular season broadcast since 2002, barring openers and Christmas specials. New York took the victory, 112-100, but the entire production crackled with energy from the jump. It captured that holiday excitement, reminiscent of classic plays where Wade connects with James for the slam. When pressed later about whether Clark would become a regular fixture, NBC boss Rick Cordella gave a very revealing response. Highlighting her ties to the parent company, he welcomed her to the family and signaled that this was merely the opening act. Mark your calendars for March 29th, when she returns to the screen for the Thunder hosting the Knicks in OKC. Yet, anyone tuning in realized they were witnessing the start of a massive shift. It wasn't just a cameo, it was a successful tryout for a seat at the table of giants. Now, let's visualize the chemistry on screen, because this is where the potential gets exciting. Just imagine the lineup. First, there is Vince Carter, standing 6'6", arguably the most spectacular dunker to ever lace up sneakers. We are talking about the man who literally hurdled a 7-footer during the Olympic Games and made the impossible look effortless. Then you add Tracy McGrady, a scoring machine whose offensive talent was so smooth it looked like he was gliding. He could drop points from any spot on the hardwood without breaking a sweat. Rounding it out is Carmelo Anthony, the mid-range maestro and jab step killer who stands as one of the league's all-time bucket getters. And right in the mix, standing toe-to-toe with these legends, is Caitlin Clark, launching logo threes as if they were layups and threading passes so ridiculous they make veteran point guards spin their heads. The banter between this quartet is going to be nothing short of broadcasting gold. Picture Clark pressing Melo on the nuances of his triple threat position, and him standing up to demonstrate the footwork and reads in real time. Think about Vince Carter grilling Caitlin on her shooting distance, truly trying to understand the mechanics she uses to launch rockets from 35 feet out. Envision T-Mac and Clark trading secrets on creating separation, bridging the gap between his fluid style and her aggressive approach. We aren't just dreaming up scenarios here. This is the exact content strategy the network executives are cooking up, and you can bet that every clip is going to absolutely break the internet. Imagine the scene. A certified Hall of Famer locks eyes with Caitlin Clark, giving that nod that says, she is the real deal. That single interaction is going to incinerate the internet, trending on every timeline within seconds. Speaking of breaking the internet, producer Sam Flood dropped a hint that has the rumor mill spinning out of control. He mentioned they want Caitlin holding a rock on set. Sounds simple, right? But dig a little deeper. Why highlight that detail? What is the master plan? Fans are losing their minds guessing. Is she doing a live shooting clinic? Will she dissect her own jumper frame by frame? Or better yet, does Reggie Miller walk out for an impromptu three-point shootout live in the studio? But the rumor gathering the most steam, the one setting the sneaker blogs and hoop circles ablaze, is the theory that Caitlin might unveil her signature Nike silhouette live at the Mecca, Madison Square Garden. Let's pivot to the swoosh for a second. I have got to ask, because my sneaker obsession is real. You mentioned those new kicks. Nike has been dead silent on the drop date, which is suspicious. Think about the optics. Could you dream up a more explosive stage for a launch? Millions watching, the garden lights, the highest stakes basketball broadcast of the year. It would rival the hype of the original Air Jordan reveal. Now, I know the haters are lurking. There is always a chorus of doubters. She is too green, they will scream. She has zero broadcast reps. Edward, she hasn't paid her dues to sit at the table with the greats. To those skeptics, I say this. Wake up. You haven't been watching. Caitlin has lived in front of a lens since her prep days. She ruled the college game with the same swagger she had dominating high school gyms. Remember the Final Four? She ran a Manning-style simulcast and absolutely crushed it. She wasn't just good for a rookie, she was electric, sharp, hilarious, and impossible to turn off. She jumped into the Yankees booth and traded banter with veterans like she had been there for years. She has navigated an endless sea of microphones and flashbulbs without stumbling once. She thrives in the pressure cooker in a way most pros never figure out, even after a decade. And her basketball mind? Next level. She isn't there to give you generic, vanilla commentary. Caitlin dissects the floor like a master technician. She reads defenses the way a premier quarterback scans the field. She breaks down spacing, passing windows, and angular velocity with a depth that makes NBA coaches nod in agreement. Injecting that kind of intellect into an NBA broadcast is exactly the shakeup we need. It is thrilling, and frankly, NBC needs that spark, because let's be real, pregame panels can get dusty. It is usually the same old heads spinning the same old war stories. Caitlin offers something unscripted. She brings the eye of a current superstar who actually plays the modern game. The deep threes, the pace and space offense. She is the ideal translator for this era because she defines this era. But look at the bigger picture. This is seismic for the sport itself. Forever, the NBA and WNBA have existed in silos, different worlds, different vibes, zero crossover. Putting the face of the WNBA at the big desk, breaking down NBA film with authority, that is a bridge. It signals to the casual guy who only tunes in on Sundays that this woman is a basketball savant. If she can deconstruct a LeBron pick-and-roll live, she cements her status as an analyst. The celebrated ex, Iowa prodigy and fever sensation, is storming NBC's Sunday night lineup. And let us be real, her actual gameplay is the true spectacle here. This is marketing genius. A rising tide that is going to lift both leagues for the foreseeable future. 2 tracks, 1 destination. But you want to know what really blows my mind? It isn't the TV contract. It is the business execution. Caitlin Clark is only 22 years old. She is just starting her pro journey, yet she is already architecting a media dynasty. Most players wait until the knees give out to plan the next step. They grind for 15 or 20 years, then panic when the jersey comes off. Caitlin is constructing her post-game legacy right now, in her prime, while the iron is scorching hot. That is a level of vision that is terrifyingly brilliant for her age. It speaks volumes about her inner circle, and her own awareness that in this game, the window of opportunity can slam shut in a heartbeat. The genius lies in the ecosystem. She is already locked in with Xfinity, a Comcast asset, which just so happens to be the parent of NBC. Make no mistake, this was not some happy accident or stroke of luck. We are witnessing a calculated corporate masterstroke where everybody wins, with NBC securing the absolute biggest magnet in sports today. Comcast leverages its investment by spotlighting her on their main network, while Caitlin gains a megaphone, reaching tens of millions of households. For the entire landscape of women's sports, this feels like a seismic shift, perhaps the most pivotal moment in history. It adds legitimate broadcasting chops to a resume that is already overflowing with record-shattering statistics and a sponsorship lineup that would make veterans with double her experience jealous. She isn't just cashing in on the now, she is actively constructing the equity of her future. Every second the red light is on at NBC, she is banking longevity for a career destined to outlast her time on the court by decades. You need to grasp how the branding game has evolved. The traditional path was always a straight line. Hoop, hang up the sneakers, then beg for a commentator gig. But the Caitlin Clark blueprint? That is strictly parallel processing. You construct your legacy as an athlete and a broadcaster simultaneously, creating a feedback loop where both sides thrive. When she crushes it on air, it drives curiosity, making fans desperate to see her light it up for the fever. And when she drops a dagger on the court, people tune in Sunday night to hear her take it, is a perpetual motion machine that cannot be stopped. Beyond the contracts and strategy, there is a profound human element here we cannot ignore amidst the corporate jargon. Consider the person behind the brand. A kid raised in Des Moines, Iowa. Far from the glitz of major markets, she discovered her passion for hoops by studying the game through a television screen. Clark from Deep, another triple. She absorbed every play, obsessed with the details. Now the tables have turned, and she is the one on the glass, sparking fires in the next generation, sitting on their sofas, dreaming big. Somewhere, a young girl in dollars, a forgotten town will watch Caitlin dissecting an NBA matchup and realize that if she made it, the impossible is actually within reach. That impact transcends Nielsen ratings, lucrative contracts, or trending videos. That is the definition of a legacy. February 1st, Madison Square Garden. The arena lights will reveal more than the hardwood. They will highlight a changing of the guard during Lakers versus Knicks. Surrounded by legends, Caitlin Clark takes center stage in primetime, armed not with a ball, but with a microphone. Superficially, you might call it a debut, but underneath, it represents a seismic realignment of clout, demographics, and who actually steers the narrative in basketball today. As the broadcast starts and the intro music cuts, do not just listen to the words "watch who owns the space." The biggest plays often happen off the court, within the story itself. By the end of the night, nobody will ask if she fits in. They will be asking whose game this really is.